Hi everyone, welcome again to the 5th season of the TaraElla report, where we dive deeper to take a real look at the issues underlying the toxic political environment we have throughout the West right now. This show is brought to you by my new book, The Moral Libertarian Idea, which is all about reimagining a positive and pro-community, pro-humanity, classical liberalism for the 21st century. Libertarian is a really controversial word right now. Both when used as a label of pride and as a smear, it carries a range of sometimes contradictory meanings. For example, the far left has often accused Andrew Yang UBI as a libertarian Trojan horse. I don't know what that is supposed to mean, but it's clearly something bad. Meanwhile, some self-identified libertarians have indeed been enthusiastic supporters of Yang during the past year. On the other hand, other self-identified libertarians have criticized those Yang supporters as not true libertarians, because they clearly aren't for drastically cutting government if they support a Democrat. Finally, some elements of the anarchist far left have come out and said, no, you are all fake libertarians, because the word libertarian actually means anarchist in its original meaning. So, who is a libertarian? It appears that we don't have a clear and agreed definition of the word. Some may point to the non-aggression principle as the foundation of the whole idea, and most would agree. But then, how would you define what is an acceptable application of the NAP? I mean, there's the example where if you don't pay your taxes, somebody would take you to jail at gunpoint, so that's a violation of the NAP. However, even if the government were as small as only having a police force, law courts, and a military, they would still need tax revenue, so the aforementioned situation would probably still happen to people who refuse to pay their taxes. And given that lower taxes are not really associated with lower tax evasion, it appears that the very existence of taxation would already violate the NAP, and a tax rate of 5% would likely violate the NAP as often as a tax rate of 50%. If we are to accept this logic, it would indeed lead to anarchism being the only acceptable libertarian position. However, as we all know, the majority of libertarians don't actually want anarchism. Therefore, let me propose this. A libertarian is somebody who supports individual liberty as a core value and supports the application of the NAP in some form. Now, this definition can encompass a wide range of people, and I don't think that's a bad thing either. For example, my support of practical individual liberty is the reason I support a UBI program. And for me, as a moral libertarian, I believe the best way to apply the NAP to its fullest spirit is to follow the principle of equal moral agency for all and every political issue. Now, another libertarian may not see things the same way, and that's fine. Freedom of conscience and diversity of thought are core values for every libertarian, and we should be able to respect our differences as the NAP requires of us. Furthermore, I think if we define libertarian this way, it's much more useful and logical. For example, some definitions of libertarianism focus solely on low taxation or property rights, would include people who clearly don't believe enough in individual liberty, while excluding those who have a more consequential model of liberty. It's how fans of Milo Yiannopoulos and Lawrence Southern can define themselves as libertarians while trying to exclude supporters of Andrew Yang. I think this is ridiculous, because there's clearly no way being neo-reactionary adjacent is actually more supportive of liberty than being a UBI fan. At this point, I think we should also return to the roots of classical liberalism. Classical liberalism arose as a response to the religious conflicts of the late Middle Ages, and its purpose was to allow people with different faiths to coexist in peace and cooperate. This arrangement only works where there is a robust social fabric supported by strong social institutions, especially strong families. One reason I particularly liked Andrew Yang's campaign was his emphasis on families. Having a UBI as well as free marriage counseling may somewhat detract from the goal of smaller government, but it's good for families, especially those with stay-at-home moms. Given that families are the most essential part of the social architecture supporting liberty, there is indeed nothing more libertarian than supporting strong families. Liberty is the best guarantor of the natural social fabric, and the natural social fabric is the best guarantor of liberty. That's all for today. I'll be back next time to discuss another big idea. Subscribe if you want to follow the story. And remember to resist the hive mind and stay positive. The world depends on it.